Hello, fellow investors, and welcome to another episode of Ritter On Real Estate, where we teach you how to passively invest like a pro. Today, my guest is Jindou Lee, and Jindou is the founder and CEO of HappyCo. Prior to founding HappyCo, he was involved in several other software developments and solutions. And even prior to that, I think pretty interesting, he was involved in Midway Games and involved in user interface design for some of my favorite video games. I feel like from back in the day, including Mortal Kombat, it looks like. So pretty amazing background. Jindou, well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I think we're going to dig into some really cool topics, technology and multifamily, how AI is really changing things. And so as you guys want to be relevant investors and understand best practices, technology is definitely moving the industry. And I think we got an expert here today to tell us or give us some insights. So Jindou, thank you so much for coming today and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to this all week. So this is great.
Awesome. Well, very good. I'm glad you're excited to be here. So let's start at the top. Tell folks a little bit more about who you are and how you got to be where you are today.
Yeah. So like today I run a company called HappyCo, and we essentially sell software solutions to multifamily. Prior to starting HappyCo, I actually was I studied graphic design at university. If you know Asian parents, like they thought it was a phase and I'll eventually be a surgeon or something more impressive. But I finished off my graphic design degree and I worked for a bunch of web agencies and eventually started working in the video gaming industry. So what you mentioned before, I was working on games like Mortal Kombat, Dukes of Hazzard, Gauntlet Legends, so really old school games, growing up.
Awesome.
Yeah, those are things I'm like, wow, I want to be a video game, creator one day. And after working in the industry for a while, I realized when you see how the sausage is made, you're like, oh, I don't really want to eat the sausage anymore. and so I finished up at Midway and started essentially just building websites and other solutions for customers. I sold a company that I created, and I just started investing in real estate. So this is 2000, mid 2000s by this stage. And in 2010, I started investing in single family properties in Cleveland and Memphis. And if you can probably hear from my accent, it's getting watered down these days, but I'm originally from Australia.
Sure.
And so, I was buying property sight unseen. And one day my property managers came to me and said, hey, the tenants that are skipping town, well, they punched a hole in the wall and all these damages, but we can't get the rental deposits back. And I'm like, what? Why? Well, we didn't take photos of the before and after. So basically, sorry. And it just really annoyed me. So I, use my, I guess, this design prowess to build some screenshots of an app that our property managers could do inspections with.
Yeah.
And so went to market with that. We actually visited 20 businesses and said, hey, I've got a cool idea for this inspection app. These 20 businesses took a meeting with me. 19 of them bought the software when it was just like screenshots. They weren't even real. And so that kicked off our journey in the industry. And today, we moved from single family to multifamily in 2016. The company had been around for 5 years, and our first customer in multifamily said, "Hey, I've seen your inspection app, and I really like it, but I want to inspect multifamily apartments." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I had no idea multifamily existed, and I'm like, "Cool. How many houses do you have?" And he goes, "Oh, we don't have houses. We have apartments, and we have 110,000 units." And I just fell off my chair, like, what is going on? And so that kicked off this journey into the multifamily industry, and that's where HappyCo is today. We have about 3.5 million units that use our platform on the maintenance side and all these various products that we have today. Yeah, so accidental kind of step into the industry.
Yeah, no, I love the story of how, you just being the tech guy you are, you saw this problem and you found a tech solution to fix your own problem from, the bad experience you had being a landlord, which I think so many people can relate to that experience. It's happened to all of us. And yeah, then you took on that to develop into the app or several apps that you have today. And I mean, that's how I got to know you. We're HappyCo users. We use it for our inspections and our due diligence. And now we're using it more for, even ongoing unit walks, tracking CapEx and turns and things that are done unit by unit. Because as our portfolio has expanded, that was one of the things that we really realized we were losing track of, like what was done in each unit, and being able to keep a current record. And so, the app has made it, with pictures and being able to track progress, allowed us to keep, control of the scope, and any unit you can pull up and kind of say, oh yeah, here's what that unit looks like, and here's what we've done to it, and keep track of all that. So definitely value there for sure.
And it's been a really fun kind of journey for myself, right? Because when I started the company, my co-founder, we had zero expectations of what this could become. And over the years, I remember like speaking this, the CEO of RealPage at the time, Steve Wynn, they were looking to acquire us essentially. And I was walking around with him, and he looked at me and he goes, "Do you know what we're in the business of?" I'm like, "What?" "Trust." And I was like, "Huh? Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Well, because if you do something really well for someone, they're going to come back and they'll want you to solve more problems for them." And I thought that was a really, like really great kind of frame for me to kind of think about what I'm doing in this journey. And it's not just about making a quick buck and then doing the next thing, right? So it's really about how do you build these long-term relationships, keep solving problems. And I just love building solutions. And so this, running HappyCo is kind of my, I don't know, life's work to some degree. I wish I was a surgeon, but this is fine. Just solving some problems.
Absolutely. Well, you're solving, you're helping solve our problems. I think a lot of other investors. So still doing good work, even if it's not
Thank
surgery. So let's talk a little bit about technology and multifamily. I think, just when I really got involved in multifamily investing in a meaningful way, it was probably about 2017. And there wasn't hardly anything out there. I mean, it really felt like things were all still done on paper for the most part. There were even just property management systems weren't where they are today. And so that evolution over even the last like 6 years, I think, has been pretty incredible. And there's been things that I think on some things we were pretty early adopters of some smart technology, self-guided tours, different things that people didn't really understand maybe in like 2019 or so, that now people are more, it's almost becoming expectations, right? For some of this smart technology. So I've seen the evolution, from in my own lens, but it's just curious to get your thoughts on kind of technology and multifamily, maybe even as you relate it to other industries and areas where you think it's really making a change, or areas where there's maybe future opportunities.
So I've been doing this for like maybe 10 years now, 11 years now, right? And I remember there's a bunch of conferences you go to. So NAA, the National Apartment Association, is Apartmentalize, and the NMHC OpTech one. And I remember like NAA maybe 8 years ago when we first went, there were only like 200, 300 vendors or so. And then this year there's like thousands of vendors, right? People selling new technology. And so it's been really great to see new cool stuff come through the industry. But the challenge is technology is just one part of, like, I think as technologists, we think, oh, we know our technology is the best thing since sliced bread and it's going to solve all these problems. But really, like, I think, the way I think about it is, I think I put my investor hat on first, my multifamily real estate investor hat on first, and go, does this really move the needle, right? Like, sure, it moves the NOI needle. It's touted as it can move the NOI needle, but there's so much like other stuff that technologists don't factor in. Like, there's actually, who is actually using the software? It's some poor guy on site who still uses a flip phone, and you're going to give him this app that does all these whiz bang stuff. And so I always think about it from like, what what are we trying to solve as, in multifamily? And it changes. So like 3, 4, 5 years ago, anyone who's an investor looks like a magician, right? Anything you buy, the rents are, climbing because of the economy, everything is great.
Right.
And so there was this huge focus on the leasing, amenities. Hey, let's put some smart devices in the houses and it
Right.
becomes an amenity, and we're charging out like 30, $40. And so there's a lot of that focus. But I think where the shift is right now is because of interest rates. Like none of the investors can really transact anymore because there's nothing to buy. And so there's this big shift to kind of focus inwards in operational aspects of the organization, right? And so,
Absolutely.
which has been a really great shift, because now it's moving the industry from being one that's like, hey, I'm just gonna buy low, sell high,
Right.
to now being, let's operate more efficiently and more effectively. And I think that is what we're seeing is like a very big movement right now in the industry.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we've seen the same thing, right? And it's because so much of the value created over the past 5 years was cap rate compression, right?
Yeah.
And so now you actually have to create value, you actually have to move the needle.
Yeah.
And in some ways you may have cap rates working against you,
Yeah.
so you need to move the needle even more. And so, yeah, I think this is, in every cycle, right? You have these times where I wouldn't say it's a recession from a real estate investor standpoint, but it's one of those times where you're kind of, you know, clearing out the folks that aren't going to be great operators, right? And really
Yeah.
proving you're kind of culling the herd, if you will, because you really have to, I think, to be successessl right now, you have to be a great operator. And
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's where,
Yeah,
like you said,
totally
that
agree.
focus internally. And that's one of the places where I've always believed technology can help us. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just so much, there's still so much manual tracking, spreadsheets, paper pushing that we have to do. And
Yeah.
as you can remove those redundancies, it becomes so much more efficient. Like that's
Yeah.
one of the things I always loved about real estate is that you can do so much with a small team. You don't need to have a staff of 200 people. And the more that technology can come in, you can even be more lean
Yeah.
in that way. And so we've always tried to lean into that, lean into technology and try to find new solutions. And like you said, some work and some don't. And that is
Yeah.
one of the things right now is figuring out which ones work and which ones don't, because there's so much new prop tech. Not a lot of it has a good track record at this point, so a lot of it's still theory.
Yeah.
But
And there's a lot of like new companies, and like the technology itself isn't not just the determinant factor, right? It's actually you kind of want to find, probably to your listeners, it's about trying to find the vendors that understand how to roll out their technology with the operating partners or the property management companies.
Yeah.
And it's not just, hey, this is a cool, because you could have two really cool tools side by side, but one company understands the nuance about how do you convey the value of this this technology to the on-site property manager or the on-site technician, right? Like, because they're going, I'm busy, I'm flat out, I don't want to learn yet another thing. So I think we spend a lot of time over the last 8, 9, 10 years. How do we like position a way that the on-site person can understand? And I think that comes back to my parents are blue collar workers, so they didn't even finish high school, I don't think. And they did finish high school, and so I understand how to communicate to my dad about technology and how to position it in a very simple way. So he goes, oh, so I press one, I have to do less things. Yes, exactly that. Do less things. And he goes, great. So I think like to find the right vendors, it's around like people, asking them questions around how do you truly roll out your software? How do you help us to roll it out? And I think a lot of people skip that step because they go, oh, shiny object, great, let's just buy that, and they realize no one's using it.
Absolutely. And I think the like fatal flaw there is assuming that the technology itself is the solution, right? Like you buy the technology, it'll fix the problem. Well, technology is only as good as it's implemented, right? And so if you can't get adoption, if you can't get the end users to actually use it, then you're paying for a really expensive thing that's going to just sit on the shelf,
Yeah.
right?
And you go,
So
why is my NOI not really, moving? Well,
yeah,
because you just spent another $3 a unit, and of course it
yeah.
doesn't
No,
move.
and nobody's actually using it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great insight, and good question to ask as you think about adding technology to your investment platform, right?
Yeah.
Is how can it actually be used? And my other big one is just customer support and service. And
Mhm.
who is there somebody to reach out to when
Yeah.
inevitably it doesn't work for whatever reason, or there is a hiccup, right? And making
Yeah.
sure that there's that kind of chain back, because we've definitely experienced that as well. We're like, there's really nobody to go to. You can't get anybody in
Yeah.
touch.
It's not like a consumer app, right? Where, consumer apps, you have this, you try to talk to someone, it goes to this like chat bot kind of thing, and then it
Yeah,
kind of
it's impossible
disappears.
to talk to a person.
Yeah, wait 24 hours. And you're like, I'm in front of the resident right now trying to solve a problem, and I
Right.
cannot get, like, I need to speak to someone.
Yeah.
So I think, like, really going through understanding, like, the vendor you're working with, and how they actually help you in these moments where it's super stressful for your team. And what some really interesting things, like technology should be really simple. And I'll ask your listeners will probably identify this, but something as simple as, like, I want to get a roll-up report of how all my properties are doing. Like, that's an impossible task today, right? Like, it's
It
like,
is so difficult. I mean,
yeah,
I just tell you the amount of time that we've spent and just developing that, and especially when you start going across different property management platforms.
yeah,
And then you try to talk to a property manager about, hey, can I just have an API and can we just tap in? And they're like, it's like
what?
they look at you cross-eyed,
Yeah,
and it's like, no, I'm trying to make your life easier. Like, you don't have to send it to me. I'll just get it. Like,
yeah.
it's
Just
just
use it.
that we've
Yeah,
tried that route. Yeah. It just, it's difficult. Yes. To your
yeah.
point.
Yeah, and so I think to that point, it's like really like the devil's in the details, right? And so because we spent a lot of time trying to understand customers and go, oh, you want a roll up report? Okay, great. Like, let's, so the way we've kind of built our software, it doesn't matter which property management system you use, who is your property management company. We're able to kind of roll up the data, and
Yeah.
ownership group perspective, you can kind of see, oh, these are how my properties are performing across the board. And just, but
Yeah.
it's like simple things like that where
Yeah.
it should be easy, but it's not. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, no, this is great information. And I just love hearing even, thinking outside the box about what to
Mhm.
look for as you think about software. Cause I think people look at cost and bells and whistles, but it really is getting to that implementation piece. I think that's so important. And
Yeah.
so another thing I wanted to talk to you about today
Mhm.
is just around AI. So, I
Ah,
mean, I think you're a guy that has a good perspective where I'm seeing all these experiments with things like Chat GPT and others, from writing like,
mhm.
you know, marketing copy to even code, to like, there's just so many applications, and we've
Yeah.
been doing small things within our business as well to make things easier. But I know that it's affecting every part of the world, right? So what do
Yeah.
you see as the impact or value within multifamily?
Yeah. So I think, like, we think about AI quite a lot, and really what we're really talking to about when we talk about AI is really like automation and being more efficient and scalable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think AI comes in two buckets for me. One, which is just very strong efficiency gains, and the other one is around sort of market data benchmarking. Like the real true AI, and where people are wanting it to go. At this stage, I'm really much more focused on the efficiency gains. And
Mm-hmm.
I see AI as more of like an Iron Man suit. So, right, Iron Man, you still need like Tony Stark to be inside and operating it, but
Yeah.
he can lift 100 times more. And I think AI is the Iron Man suit that we kind of need to give to our team members. Because there's a few factors there. The industry has a labor shortage across the board. Right. So
Absolutely.
you're basically hiring the guy from next door. That guy works for you for 6 months. He gets hired somewhere else. And so it's just a revolving door. There's not enough people, and there's not enough smart people, and people just can't be efficient. So I feel it has that AI has that role to play in multifamily. And so when I think about it, like, what are the, I would think about, like, what are the things what are the things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis that are repetitive and can be replaced or automated? And there's this joke that I heard a while ago, which is two guys walk into a jungle and they see a lion, and the lion's like growling at them. And one guy bends over, starts tying his shoelaces, and his buddy goes, "Dude, you're never going to outrun this lion. What are you thinking?" And he looks up, he goes, "I'm just trying to outrun you, dude."
Yeah.
and that's AI, right? Like the people that don't adopt it will get eaten by the lion. Eventually the lion will kill all of us. But but for now, like you want to be faster than the guy that doesn't use technology to become more efficient. So that's how I see that at a high level.
Absolutely. So what are some of the applications where you see, if you're focusing on efficiency, like what are some of the use cases that you see being valuable to multifamily investors?
Yeah, so I think like I've been playing a lot with different types of AI and how it can help not just multifamily but ourselves. And I really like the marketing angle about creating marketing copy. So right, so if your leasing person today is writing, I don't know, 3 or 4, let's say you have one leasing agent that is at one property with 300 units. They're probably able to write 3 or 4 pieces of copy a day, maybe. I don't know, right? 3 or 4 marketing pieces for 4 units a day. If you could use AI like ChatGPT to then create 30 or 40 or 50 different marketing like lease copy for different units across multiple properties now, that one person is doing like 20-30 times what they can do today. So then instead of having your leasing person on one property, you could then centralize that, right? And so now that one person is over 4 or 5 properties. So now you've cut like maybe 1.5 headcounts across these multiple properties.
Sure.
So I think AI has this ability to centralize, reduce headcount by centralizing at scale. So that's one example of how we can use it. Yeah. Some other ones, I can show you something really quickly. This is just a little thought experiment. Hopefully this works. Let me see. Yeah, can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, I can.
Is that me on screen?
Looks like you, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to play this. This is just something I shared with our internal team. Hopefully it works.
Okay.
Hi team, I was playing around with custom AI avatars, and I thought it might be of interest to you if you are creating internal or external training material. The cool thing about using an avatar is that you can generate all audio and videos with just text, and you can simply render new training material without the need to hire a custom actor each time you create new content. Be a multilinguist, no problemo.
Incluso puedes aprender un nuevo idioma en cuestión de segundos. ¿Es bueno mi español?
Or perhaps we prefer someone a little more professional? Then, I would be a better fit.
Either way, can you think of ways that digital avatars could help us work smarter, like my accent? Ha 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 ha. LOL.
So I don't know if that made sense or not, but that wasn't actually me, right? It was just a digital avatar myself.
Yeah, so it's just
so
you just have a picture of you in front of the green screen. You just type text, and then it'll just superimpose that, so it's like you're talking. And
exactly,
that's pretty cool. I've
trained it with my voice as well, so it's actually my voice, and me, which actually has really cool applications. Like where it started from was I was thinking about if I've got a 5-year-old, right, and if I die, he'll never have any recollections of me. He could then go to this thing and just like listen to me speak. And then
gosh, yeah.
so hopefully it pulls in some heartstrings of dads and mums out there. But
that's like that stuff you see in like Superman movie or something, where like he's got this thing of his dad. Like it's probably nerdy, but that's the one thing I remember. I mean, that's pretty futuristic. Yeah. So you train it with your voice. Like I've seen those I've seen recently, like you have the AI Drake, and it sounds exactly like Drake. Like he's basically out of a job now.
Yeah, exactly. And the way how do you apply that to multifamily? I was thinking multilingual, right? Because I'm sure if you have maintenance technicians, a good portion are potentially like Spanish speakers. And again, biggest challenge is how do you train a Spanish speaker like with English? It's really hard because the command of English isn't even great. So if you use technical terms, they're just going to go no comprehend or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so what if you could create training material across your organization that's multilingual?
I love that.
And when things change, normally if you were recording it, you have to go back and edit the video and like re-record, reshoot it. But now you're able to just change text and then re-render that clip. And so that becomes like pretty cool. And at the end of the clip, you can see we kind of got the contractor, the maintenance guy at the end of the hard hat. Where that can go, we have a product that is called Happy Force today, and that's like it's a real technician today that is solving people's problems virtually. So we have that as a product.
Yeah,
we're thinking, what if like the first line of defense could be a chat bot that's responding, maybe like a series of 10 videos on like when the resident has a garbage disposal reset issue.
Because there's like 5 things that are the majority of work orders.
Yeah. So we're just like thinking, and then you can start to, and I think the AI comes like you automate like 1% at a time, and you look up in 3 or 4 years, you go, holy crap, we've actually automated 30% of our inefficiencies, and now we've dropped two headcounts per 600 units or whatever, and that's like hard savings of what, $150,000, right? Depending on where you are. I'm in California, so probably 300,000 here. But that's so that I think there's a lot of really cool applications. It's still very early innings today.
I think there's a ton of applications driven that, but I love those ideas about making us more efficient, being able to the analogy of the Iron Man suit, right? Where you're just enabling people to do more and be more efficient and get more done. And so, I mean, how as multifamily investors, I mean, a lot of us are not technologists.
Yeah.
So how do we even approach to like these different, I mean, I'm aware of Chat GPT, but I know there's a lot of different AI applications that are out there now. I mean, how do we even start to approach this to say, okay, how do we go out and make use of this stuff that's out there now?
Yeah, I think I think, remember that nerdy guy you hung out with in high school that you were picking on? Go back to him and ask him. I don't know. Hey, Rob,
I might have been that guy.
Been a while.
I just don't know about AI.
It's been a while, Rob. Let's catch up. I think I think what I'm doing is I'm trying to automate a lot of my personal tasks, right, with AI. I don't think we should think about it as how do I fix multifamily with it. I actually have a an AI scheduling assistant. Right. And what I do is she speaks like a real human she types like a real human in email.
Yeah.
And so, I'll be like, hey, if you want to meet up with me, I'm going to CC Clara, and Clara help you find a time. And so that saves me.
Yeah, that's a huge time saving.
Hours, right? A week, like hours upon hours of trying to look at schedules. And she actually responds in real time. So if like if you're like, if Ken's like, hey, I'm really busy, I can't do this week. She goes, no problems. How about next week? And you feel you're talking to a real human.
Yeah,
and
that's fantastic.
There's a bunch of instances. I've jumped on a call with a potential investor, and they're like, hey, it was really great. Clara was so helpful. I really love her. She was amazing.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
like, she's not real. And that person's face dropped for the first 10 minutes of the call. She's like,
yeah,
I can't believe I was talking to a bot.
Like, well, we have to invest with you because if you got that going.
Yeah. I'm a bot. I'm not even real too. So
yeah. This could be AI you right now. I wouldn't even know it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I would start like very simple and solve your own problems around like your things. Think of your what you do on a day-to-day basis. Scheduling is a big portion of it.
For sure.
Email, like how can you replace some of these very basic stuff? You guys write.
Is there an AI solution for organizing my inbox? I would pay a lot of money for that.
There is, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there is. I'll share with you later on, but there are like
I definitely need that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can use to just make yourself have, imagine if you had 2-3 hours more a week of like free time.
Absolutely.
That you could use that to generate thousands and thousands of dollars more, right? Just from sitting down and doing high value work. So
absolutely.
So that's my short term how do you solve AI?
Well, I think that's a good place to start, because I mean, the old adage used to be, the biggest leverage you're going to get is hire an assistant, and that could free up 30-40% of your time. But you're doing the same thing just with technology, which I love, because
and I'm only paying like this service, the scheduling, I'm paying like $200 a month.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can't even hire an EA for.
No, you can't. You can't. And I've done actual physical US based assistance, and that's great. But yeah, we all know payroll costs have gone up substantially. I've done multiple different VA type solutions, and that's always been somewhat successful, but not quite there.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that sounds like a great alternative. So definitely something I'm going to explore.
I'll share the link with you as well, so then your listeners can check that out.
I love it. Yeah, we'll make sure it's listed in the show notes so that everybody can check it out. Well, Jindou, thank you so much for giving us so much value here, and I think some real just tactical tips on things that we can implement, make our lives a little easier, and how we think about the technology that we implement in our multifamily investments. Before I let you get going, I want to take you through our keys to success round. There's 4 questions I want to ask you. I know you wipe your brow, don't sweat too much. First one is, if you were going to invest in somebody else's real estate investment, you could only ask them one question before you sent your money. What is that one question you would ask?
That's a tough one. I would ask them, it's going to be a 2-part question. So who has invested with you in the past that I can chat to, and who has decided not to invest with you that I can speak to as well?
Oh, interesting. I like the twist.
Yeah. Well, because because at the end of the day, it's a relationship, and it's trust that we're really, I'm trusting you, my hard-earned cash to you.
Absolutely.
I want to know what other people have, how you've interacted with people. It sounds great on paper.
So true, right? So true. Yeah, that's an interesting twist on the question. I don't think we've had that on the show before.
Oh,
so who hasn't, and and why? Very good. What are you most proud of in your career?
I'm most proud of, like in my, I think for me, like the cliche is like people, but to me it's, I've been running this company now for 11 years, and we've had people like the first 3 employees at HappyCo are still with us today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I've been invited to all their weddings, all 3 of the weddings. They've had kids now, and just seeing their evolution in their career and just their personal lives, and how, become basically out of college kids, and now they've become semi-responsible parents. That's been really good.
That's awesome.
And it just gives me a lot of like wow, we actually, I set out wanting to make a difference in someone's lives, and I don't know if they'll agree or not, but I hope I've made a difference in this.
Very cool. Absolutely something you can be proud of, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, what's a book that everybody should read, or have AI read for you?
Yeah. There's so because I run a startup, and there's a book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things, and it's by Andreessen Horowitz, Mark Andreessen, and it's just about how hard it is to grow a business, and the everything that can go wrong goes wrong, and the highs are super high and the lows are just gut-wrenching.
That's right.
And so I think it's a really good book. I listen to a lot of podcasts. One of them is called How I Built This with Guy Raz.
Yeah.
And I tear up every time, because I'm like, oh my God, that's me. All the failures that they've had, that's me. And they got through it. So anyway, those books are, I like those 2 things.
No, really good. I think that's I'll have to check out The Hard Thing About Hard Things. I've not heard of them. Awesome. And last question, what is your number 1 key to success?
Something that lets me go to sleep at night is being authentic, and like being as candid and as authentic as I can be in even to our to our investors, to our customers, to our employees, because I find like once you tell a lie, it's really hard to remember, and I've got a really bad memory, so I'll forget. Being authentic is good. The message can be good or bad, but if you're just you show up and you are who you are, I think that really helped. That has helped me in my journey anyway.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. I think everybody can take that away as a great way to be successful. Just be authentically you.
Yeah. Be yourself. I always say, be yourself, but better. That's what I always say.
There you go. Awesome.
Cool, man.
Well, so if folks want to reach out to you, Jindou, and people want to hear about HappyCo and what you guys are working on, check out the technology. How can they reach you?
Yeah, so my Tinder profile is now down, so you can go to happy.co. Happy.co is our website. You can reach me. I'm on LinkedIn, JINDOULEE. I'm the only Jindou Lee on LinkedIn, I think, so it's not very hard to find me.
Nice.
But yeah, those are the two ways you can reach out.
Awesome. Well, like always, folks, we'll make sure that's listed below in the show notes, so you can reach out to Jindou and check out HappyCo. I'm not a paid endorser, but I will say that we do use the product and have found great value in it for keeping track as our portfolio has grown. So I'll put my little endorsement on there.
Thank you.
And yeah, with that, Jindou, thank you for coming out and having providing some great value to all of our listeners, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you. See you again.
Thanks for listening to another great episode of Ritter on Real Estate. Hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on the content that will make you a better investor. Also, visit KentRitter.com for articles, videos, and tools curated just for passive investors. Until next time, this is Kent Ritter with Ritter on Real Estate. Now go out and invest like a pro.